Hey guys, welcome and ting and ting and ting. Back with another reaction video here for you and ting. And this one was suggested to me, so I'm gonna check it out. And it's the Battle of Vaslui. Okay, let me start that over. The Battles of Vaslui, 1475, and Valea Alba, 1476. Ottoman Wars documentary. Understand? Kings and generals, man. Y'all check out that channel. They got some good historical stuff there, about everything, about all over the world. Very interesting and all of that. But me ain't gonna take too long. Let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and see what these two battles were all about.
The Ottoman expansion into Europe was generally successful. Yet every state they attacked managed to resist, and this resistance gave Lazar, Skanderbeg, Hunyadi, Vlad Tepes, and others the status of legends. In this episode, we will cover the resistance of another legendary historical figure, the Prince of Moldavia, Stefan III, the Battles of Vaslui and Valea Alba, and how they shaped the region for many years to come. We left our series on Ottoman history on the Battle of Otluk-Beli, during which the Ottoman Sultan Mehmet II fought against Uzun Hasan, the leader of the new Turkic power, the Akkunyulu. But to tell this story, we will need to go back a few decades to the Princedom of Moldavia. In 1451, the Prince of Moldavia, Bogdan II, was murdered by his brother Peter, who took the title. The new prince secured the realm by becoming vassal to the Polish king Casimir IV. He also started to pay tribute to the Ottomans in 1456. However, the son of Bogdan, Stefan, was supported by the leader of the Hungarian armies, John Hunyadi, and the then Prince of Wallachia, Vlad III. In 1457, Stefan received troops from Vlad and entered Moldavia, defeating Peter at Orbik. He became the prince as Stefan III. The new ruler continued to pay tribute to the Ottomans and used the respite to reform the princedom. The power of the aristocracy was curbed, and the serfs became free tenants, which allowed them to join the army. The military was improved and strengthened with artillery units, and new fortresses were built along the borders.
See, the thing that amazes me is how a lot of people don't know the history of that region, don't understand what the conflicts were all about. The Ottoman Empire, and from what I've learned through the ages, it's like an Islamic type, not led, but influenced type of a regime, if you will. You always ask yourself, like, like I was always thinking, well, it's Europe. How did the Muslims get there to certain parts of it? You know what I mean? And that's how the Ottoman Empire did a lot of that there, as far as I could tell watching this history stuff like that, when they get there, of course they're going to bring in their own religion. And at some point, especially if they're dominant for a while, that religion is probably going to take hold there, you know what I mean? Just like Christianity has taken hold in Africa, you know what I mean? And in some parts of Africa, Islam has taken hold there, you understand what I mean? Man, that's just two major religions that pretty much ideologically, I should say, conquer the world. You know what I'm saying? And there's always conflicts between those two. And when you look at history, it goes way back. People think this is something new here. These are just, especially people that doesn't know the history. They just think this is just something new, and they act like, this is it, and but there's a history behind there, you know what I mean? And I'll be honest with you, until I started watching a lot of these videos, I didn't quite understand the Ottoman Empire and what was entailed, not so much in the history, but in the ideology behind them. You understand what I mean? When you break away the religion stuff, it's the same political ideology. Let's go in there and conquer land and put the people in substitute, and make them do what we want, and then just like every other religion, the best way to subdue people is to convert them into your beliefs, be it political or religious. You know what I'm saying? I remember back home, that's what a lot of Rastafarians would say, who they would say that the Catholic Church subdued the people by presenting them with their own religion. You know what I mean? There's some merit to it, you know what I mean? Because a lot of church-going people were sort of humble because they figure, well, it's bad here, but when we go to heaven, it's going to be okay. You know what I'm saying? But let's get back to this here. And I'm going to shut this phone down because I don't know why everybody all of a sudden is messaging me. That never happened. I don't know why I'm so popular.
Stefan gained the city of Kotin from Poland, either through diplomacy or military action. And as his opponent Peter was in exile in Transylvania, he attacked this region, which was under Hungarian protection. His old ally, Vlad III, lost his title to the Ottoman satellite Radu in 1462. Stefan used that to take the strategic city of Kilia in 1465, and that gave him control over the Danube Delta. In 1466, Stefan supported the anti-Hungarian rebellion in Transylvania. In late 1467, the King of Hungary, Matthias I, dealt with the uprising in Transylvania and moved into Moldavia with an army that had between 20 and 40,000 troops and a few hundred cannons. At a place called Baia, Stefan and his 15,000-strong army managed to defeat the Hungarians, killing more than 10,000 and wounding Matthias.
Yeah, you know, I don't mean to stop it again, but I really need to say this because I see it a lot in the comment section. In that region, there are a lot of the countries that came through there that was superpowers. They did a lot of things to sort of create all the conflicts there, because they take land, they give land back, they take land, they bring in new people, try to get rid of the people that are there so that they can control the whole situation in there by replacing them with their own people, you know what I mean? And that's why there's so many conflicts about who owns what and where stuff comes from. It's kind of like the same thing with India and the British, where they just go, okay, that's Pakistan, that's India. One religion stay over there, one religion stay over here. And then there was all kinds of conflict there about whose land it is, you know what I mean? Fighting back and forth. So, it was advantageous for the people who was in power to make that division. But then in the long run, for that region and that country and that area, it didn't work, because then, people figure, well, you took our land. And it's kind of sad to think that the people are fighting amongst themselves saying you took our land when the outside influence was the problem. It happened in Africa too. That's why so many different African countries have so many different languages. Sierra Leone, French. Some people speak English. Certain parts speak German. Just Dutch. All kind of crazy stuff, because they just go in there and say, hey, okay, we own this now. You're going to be subjects to us. And the similarities between what happened to like Africa and that part of the world is astounding. You know what I mean? It's astounding.
The Moldavian prince invaded Transylvania on a few occasions over the next few years, but also was forced to defend his lands. In the summer of 1470, he soundly defeated the Golden Horde at Lipnik in the battle that marked one of the last occasions the Horde went on an offensive. Later that year, his rival Peter invaded Moldavia, but was defeated at Targu and then executed. Another invasion from Wallachia was stopped at Sochi in 1471. It was around this time the relationship between Mehmet II and Stefan began to weaken. In 1471, the Ottomans demanded Kilia return to Wallachian control. Stefan refused, and in 1472 started plotting with Uzun Hasan against the Ottomans. The next year, Stefan used the Ottoman Akkinyulu War to his advantage. He stopped paying tribute, attacked Wallachia, defeated Radu at Remnicu Sarat, and installed Basarab III Leota to the throne. Back east, the Ottomans defeated the Akikinyulu at the Battle of Otluk Beli in 1473, and as his eastern borders were now secured, Sultan Mehmet turned his gaze to Europe. By the end of the year, Radu was restored. In 1474, Leota regained the title, supported by Stefan. The Ottoman Sultan couldn't tolerate this anymore. Mehmet sent an ultimatum. Stefan had to pay tribute, return Kilia, and cease his attacks on Wallachia. As the prince declined, the Sultan assigned the governor of Rumelia, Hadim Suleiman Pasha, who was busy with the siege of Venetian-controlled Skoda, to end his campaign and move his troops against Moldavia. Suleiman followed the order and reached Sofia in September of 1474. The number of troops the Ottomans had is highly contested, with the numbers ranging from 50,000 to 120,000. We know that up to 20,000 Bulgarians joined Suleiman Pasha in Sofia, but it is not clear if these were troops or engineers as stated in the Ottoman sources. We also know that Leota switched sides and joined the Ottomans with up to 15,000 Wallachians. Meanwhile, Stefan knew that his refusal to accept the ultimatum would provoke an attack, so he asked Hungary, Poland, and the Pope for help. His standing army of 10,000 was reinforced by thousands of Moldavian peasant recruits, 2,000 Poles, 2,000 Hungarians, and 5,000 Sekes, for a total of between 30 and 40,000. He also had 20 cannons and a small unit of handgunners. Suleiman crossed the Danube in November of 1474, and although the campaigning season was over, he gave his troops 2 weeks of rest and then continued his march towards Moldavia, reinforced by Leota around Bucharest. In December, the Ottomans entered Moldavia, yet Stefan was prepared and used a scorched earth tactic against them. The villages were burned, the wells were poisoned, and the population was moved to create supply problems for the Ottoman army. This was a war of attrition, and Stefan, who was used to fighting superior opponents, had mastered it, continually harassing the Ottomans with his hit-and-run tactics. The hungry and exhausted Ottoman army moved to the north for a month. On January 10, 1475, the Ottoman scouts reported intact villages south of Vaslui in a valley where the Balad River runs. With heavy fog and rain accompanied with frigid temperatures, Suleiman decided that he could rest his troops south of Vaslui while waiting for the entire Moldavian army to show up. However, as the Ottoman troops started passing to the other side of the river, over the only bridge in the area, Moldavian battle drums were heard to the north. Convinced the whole Moldavian army was ahead, Suleiman rushed his troops forward in a dense fog and ordered the army to form up on the western side of the river. As the drum roll continued, more Ottoman soldiers crossed the river and moved through the mud to the north, forming up along the way. The valley the Ottomans entered was narrow and not suitable for their cavalry charges. Meanwhile, the front lines of the Ottomans finally entered into contact with the Moldavians. Stefan's light cavalry attacked the flanks of the Ottoman column, luring it into the valley. Stefan placed his best troops, Moldavian professionals and Seke units here, and they also slowly retreated. The Ottomans were ordered to advance, yet they were surprised when the Moldavians stopped at a designated location. At that moment, Stefan's hidden artillery units, archers and handgunners were ordered to start shooting at the Ottoman units. Suleiman, who was at the rear of his army, was unable to assess the situation on the front lines and tried to rush his remaining forces across the river. This, along with consistent Moldavian cannon fire, caused the wooden bridge to collapse, slowing the Ottoman reinforcements. the less loyal Wallachians did not cross the river in support of Suleiman. Meanwhile, the Moldavian infantry started a slow retreat yet again, and Stefan had sent his light cavalry to provoke the Ottoman cavalry to move up the valley where he was about to spring his trap. The Sipahis were successful in pushing the left wing of the Sekeyers and the Moldavian professionals. However, this lured them in even more. Suddenly, the Moldavian war drums were heard from the forest to the left of the Ottoman line. Completely exposed, Ottoman commanders panicked, and Suleiman, never fully aware of the tactical situation, tried to form a secondary line to defend against the threat on his left side. The main Moldavian attack was planned on the Ottoman right, and the heavy boyar cavalry of Stefan, which was hidden behind a hill until now, charged into the rear and side of the Ottoman army.
Oh, wow.
Despite still outnumbering their opponents, the Ottomans thought that they were surrounded from three sides and panicked. They tried to retreat, only to be run down by the Moldavian cavalry. This retreat went on for 3 days, and Stefan's troops continuously harassed the Ottomans. Contemporary sources indicate Stefan lost 4,500, whereas Suleiman's casualties were around 45,000.
Wow, he beat it.
Many Ottoman leaders were taken captive and then executed. The Moldavian victory was the biggest the Ottomans suffered against the Christian forces until now, only overshadowed by the crushing defeat at Ankara, while Stefan gained the prestigious Athleta Christi, the Champion of Christ title from the Pope. However, Stefan knew that he would have to face the Ottomans again, and even this did not force his neighbors to mobilize to his defense. Mehmet, realizing that he had to get the job done himself, moved into Moldavia with more than 100,000 men in the summer of 1476. His allies from the Crimean Khanate attacked from the east and invaded Bessarabia. Mehmet captured the crucial fortress of Akerman on the Black Sea coast, thus accomplishing one of the critical objectives of the campaign.
Oh, they bring down the whole
Stefan
thing on
realized
them.
that facing the Ottoman army in an open field would result in disaster, and opted for his previous tactics, attrition warfare and a scorched earth policy. Mehmet did not repeat the mistakes of Suleiman, and marched slowly, ensuring the safety of his supply lines. Eventually, Stefan's 30,000-strong army had to face the massive forces of Mehmet in Valea Alba on July 26, 1476. We have limited knowledge of this engagement, yet we know that the Moldavians used fire and the heat of summer to hinder the Ottoman advance. The forest where Moldavian forces expected the foe was set on fire, and the Ottoman forces suffered casualties. Moldavian cannons and handgunners inflicted even more damage. However, the Ottomans outnumbered the Moldavians, and due to their sheer numbers, the makeshift barricades built by the Moldavians were soon overrun. Stefan, realizing this would be a pivotal moment in the battle, unleashed his 4,000-strong cavalry upon the Sultan's forces. Unfortunately for him, these units were pushed back, while Mehmet ordered his horsemen to make an assault, and it was more successful. This success was short-lived, however, since Stefan had 1,000 horsemen hidden in the forest, and they attacked the Ottoman cavalry. Realizing that the battle could only be won through his involvement and losing troops in this back-and-forth combat, Mehmet II used his guard to rally his forces and crushed the defending Moldavians. The Janissaries hunted down Moldavian troops in the dense forest, while the flanking reinforcements prevented fleeing forces from starting an all-out retreat. At the end of the day, the forest was full of dead bodies, and this defeat became a dark page in the history of Romania and Moldavia. Casualties from both sides added up to nearly 30,000 men, according to contemporary sources. Yet, even such a victory did not ensure the conquest of Moldavia for the Ottomans. Stefan retreated towards the Polish border, recruiting a new army, while the Ottomans had failed to take the fortresses of Zdziava and Nantes. They started to suffer from starvation and an outbreak of the plague, and were also harassed by local resistance. And as the Voivoda of Transylvania, Stefan V, began forming a new army in the area, assisted by Vlad III, Mehmet decided to retreat from Moldavia in August. By that time, both sides were exhausted, and although Stefan and Mehmet fought over Wallachia for some time, eventually the Moldavian prince agreed to peace and started paying annual tribute again. This was not the end of independent Moldavia, and the Ottoman campaigns in the region were not halted. Our series on the Ottomans will continue, so make sure you are subscribed to our channel.
You know, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, oh, the Ottomans were there. How come the names of the people, or does it reflect the occupation? What it's looking like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like they let them govern, but they have to pay something. But they sort of kept the culture going in most of the area, the original culture, except for certain areas where the religion took over. Correct me if I'm wrong in the bottom there. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this with me. Those tactics, man, that Stefan was using the thing. Actually, my nephew, my oldest nephew's name is Stefan. I just thought about that, you know. We call him Steffi, but his name is Stefan. But as I was saying, I'll leave a link in the description to this video. Go check it out and thing. Check out the Kings and Generals. Really good channel to watch. And if you like what I watch, what I react to, hit the subscribe button. Drop a like on the video, please. That helps a lot. You know, get it, you know, shown out and thing. You know what I mean? And share it too if you so feel obliged. In the meantime, you all take care of each other. All right? Cool runnings.